Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero.
Yes, sir.
We're back again with the second part of the program with the Galaxy Equalizer.
Yeah.
And we principally on this program provoke discussion. We believe that we have to have a think tank. We have to have people discussing issues with a view to solve problems. We have too much people walking around with problem on their head. You have problem.
And you think
One of the objectives must be to solve problem.
I don't think we could solve them.
Yeah, whether
Or we could
it's,
give some suggestions.
well, whether it's problem with your children, problem with your woman, problem with your man, problem with the government,
Whatever problem.
problem must be solved.
All right.
Some people have problem as trophy.
Yeah.
Now we had Caricom heads of government meeting in Grenada immediately after you had a disaster. And I was very dissatisfied with the topics on for discussion. We know where foreign affairs is concerned, Caricom like to pick up the sword and join our side.
Okay.
So we're not going to interfere with them with their foreign affairs.
No, we don't go and touch
Let
the
them continue doing that.
Yeah, yeah. That's their own business.
But what's about economic development? Can Caricom, when they sit, discuss the economic development of Caricom? What are the strategies? What we should do to develop the Caricom Islands?
But sometimes the amount of challenges they're facing to develop too.
Well, yes, but all I'm saying, they must have some common strategies. So I had a friend that used to say, the things we agree on, we work with it. Those we don't agree with them, we put it in the refrigerator. I like to tell a nice little damsel that the things you don't agree with me on, put it in the fridge. When we have time, we're going to discuss it. Those you agree with me on, let's go ahead with it. Because I want you to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe every 6 months you go back and take one in the fridge that we want to argue and fight over.
So what do you suggest that they should do to increase our relations with other islands like Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia? How you think we should go about doing it?
Well, Caricom, I think we have to remember, I think the idea of Caricom started before the European Union. Before the European Union started, Caricom had this idea to start as Caricom. So we started before Caricom, before the European Union. We have the University of the West Indies,
Yes.
which in the international world is a success story. We have cricket, that is already a success story, or perhaps people might say was a success story, is a success story. We could use all of them. We're doing well in sports. Jamaica took the lead, but now the smaller islands pick it up.
Yeah, Kirani.
Yeah, and we could
coming to
perhaps,
come.
if Jamaica have a model where athletes are concerned, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So Jamaica could share their model with us in the other islands. What you want to do is to move.
So you think Jamaica is doing good when
Jamaica been doing very well in track and field, right, over the years. So, you know Jamaica doing well in track and field. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Either you send your coaches to Jamaica or whatever.
Or you send your students to train.
And Jamaica, as part of Caricom, must be willing and prepared to do it. So when Caricom heads a government meet, you must discuss that issue. Almost all the Caribbean islands have population that is not sustainable.
Yeah.
In other words, they use so much of family planning. We murder, we abort. We develop a culture of pro-choice in the Caribbean. We're killing our children. So we reach to the stage where some of us have population that is not sustainable. Grenada population has not increased in any significant way in the last 70 years.
Well, I would say 100.
Well,
it's been 100,000 for as long as I can remember.
As long as I could. Yeah. In addition to that,
it's not crossing 10, it's
St.
not crossing
Lucia
15.
Was about 400 more than us. About 70.
So they also is 100,000 people?
No, they're about 70,000 more than us.
7. They're doing good.
They're doing much better. Barbados when Barbados was 200 and something thousand. Belize and the Bahamas was 80,000.
So how can Caricom help us?
No, Belize and the Bahamas about 400,000. Jamaica fighting to get Barbados do 300,000.
400,000?
Yeah. No, Barbados don't have 300,000 people. So it means that one of the areas we have to improve is to have a sustainable population. You either encourage your women to make children. I find in Grenada and some other Caribbean countries, we are discouraging women from making children. A woman have a period of time, a time period. A woman have a time span. Between 16, 17 years and 35 years, a woman should start to make children.
Right now,
because when a woman crosses 35 and she having her first child, she have to have a sledgehammer and a cold chisel. Or you likely to spend more money in hospital fees. Now, these things are reality. You know,
that is
it
true.
might sound comical, dramatic, but that is a fact.
Because most women that have C-section, they're in their 30s.
They get older. The womb get compromised.
Yeah, get
compromised. It's like a rabbit. Yeah. If you don't breed a rabbit when it's supposed to be bred, you get in trouble. Now, if you're using Depo-Provera, and a lot of people don't realize that, women don't realize that, you are using drugs to prevent you from having children. When you decide to have a child, you have to discontinue the drug and you'll miss some cycles. Otherwise, you're making deformed thing, you're making stillbirth, you're making all kind of. Because for many years, you compromise you. Now, we as a people have been discouraging our women from having children. And it has its negative consequences. You end up with a population that is not sustainable. And we have too much countries in Caribbean that don't have sustainable population. Dominica, Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent, a number of the countries. But we have a lot of Haitians begging to come to your country. You have Venezuelans begging to come to your country. So why Grenada and the rest of Caribbean islands do not open the door or be more welcoming to immigrants?
We have 15 countries in the Caricom.
Yeah. I think Curaçao, they just...
Yeah.
But so obviously, we go to other countries. We go to England, we go to America, Canada, Aruba. At one time, Grenadians used to go to Guyana.
There's Grenadians all over the world.
Yeah. But we tend to be hostile or maybe not very welcoming to foreigners in our country. And you have a population that is not sustainable. But that doesn't make economic sense. Now, why, even if your people have their little prejudices, but your leaders must face reality and decide we have to be more welcoming. We have to be more accommodating to immigrants. We're blaming the United States of America. If you hear Grenadians talk about Donald Trump when he speak about not having a very liberal policy for immigrants. United States of America is the most welcoming country in the world to immigrants. Go on ask Russia, China, Canada, England, India. The most welcoming country to foreigners. And Donald Trump say, no, we have to manage this immigration. We can't just have an open door. You know? But we in the Caribbean, we have a problem. I heard the Dominica Prime Minister bawling and say, rain falling, go and make children. How they go make children when some of these women been using family planning and all the womb turn tomb? They compromise the womb. They tie up the womb. So the answer in the short term and medium term to increase your population is not calling to make children. You have to prepare to be welcoming to immigrants. You have Haitians there taking Haitian. You could control the amount of Haitians you're taking or Venezuelans, but do something. In Grenada here, although we have 100,000 people,
St. Kitts has
and we have
100,000 as well.
unemployment problems, and we have this, we don't have enough people to sustain the infrastructure that we have. And some of we playing fields are lit. We have people
most of them.
you have people to play.
Well, they did.
But you want those men who come and drink rum, they want to come and drink rum and see people play. So when Caricom have their meeting, economic development, and they're supposed to come up with concrete suggestions how to address some of the challenges. The time has come for we in Caricom to have a second language.
Like French or
French and Spanish. All of us, particularly Grenada, have our geopolitical relationship with Latin America is strong, and all things being equal, it will grow. Mexico, Venezuela. Mexico may have about 40 million people. Mexico, see? Venezuela may have about 30-something million people. Costa Rica, millions of people.
Millions of people. So in the Caricom, rich islands is the most populated. Like which one are the
with Jamaica.
Jamaica
would be the most populated. Jamaica, Trinidad. Barbados is perhaps the most densely populated.
Okay.
But Guyana don't have people. Guyana is almost bigger than England twice. Almost. Guyana have about 44. England is about 44,000 square miles.
So Grenada,
and Guyana is 83.
Smallest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guyana don't have 1 million people. Guyana need about 10-15 million people over the next 50 years.
Big, it's a big place.
And Guyana no have oil. But a lot of the pundits are concerned because Guyana have poor, weak institutions and plenty money is corruption. When you have weak institutions and plenty money, you open the door for corruption and low productivity. And a lot of pundits in the Caribbean are concerned that Guyana could ignore other aspects of development because they have so much oil, so much money coming from oil. It's like Venezuela. Venezuela was the richest country in Latin America and the Caribbean. Venezuela was said once to be richer than China. But 80 to 90% of the GDP is from oil. They have not developed other aspects of the country, so they're in famine. And that is why they have to have big armies and lock up people and take advantage on people and etc. Caricom leaders have to make sense. All of them bright. All of them are university graduates. More and more Caricom leaders getting greedy. From the Jamaica Prime Minister to the Grenada Prime Minister. They're getting very greedy. They get very selfish, very individualistic. They forget the principal role is about people.
But we're talking about increasing population in the Caricom countries. So then we have to ban condom.
That aspect is long term. But in the short term and medium term, women will not make more children, increase their because they have already a culture not to make children. As soon as a girl have a good little education, she say children go keep her back.
So basically you're saying import people.
You have to bring in people. You have to start to discuss the issue so your people is more welcoming to immigrants. We tend to be hostile towards immigrants.
I know.
Most immigrants that come in, you don't have much problem with them with the police.
That's very
They're very quiet. They work hard. And in a very short space of time, they own things. You might have problem with their children, but not them. So the Guyanese that get in Grenada, you don't hardly hear any problems with the Guyanese. Every now and then you might hear a man have a sexual offense.
Yeah.
And that is acceptable. Them women looking so nice,
He shove his hand.
tempt you. They could tempt you. And then you might hear a man add a little knot in the end. But you don't really have much violent problems with immigrants. They come in and they know they have to pay rent and they work hard to do it. Whereas the locals may not be under this pressure because they have the grandfather back pay, they have the mother day, the aunt day, family pig. They have, they could squat on the parents' land and don't pay rent and etc. So they are not pressured to be very productive.
All right, we're staying with Caricom. So
Caricom should definitely have as part of the agenda the economic development of the Caribbean. And once they look at economic development, sustainable population must be a factor. Even language. In Grenada, for instance, we should bring in 100 Venezuelans. Offer them stay, not the word they use, but citizenship after 6 years.
all right.
Bring them teachers. So in that way, you're bringing in certain specific people. You bring 100 teachers. You assign them to primary schools. And you say, after 6 years, if you did a good job, you don't get in a problem with the law and we didn't have to send you back, and you can apply for citizenship in the country for you and your family.
All right. So we're saying import people. Yes, I agree. But Grenadians have a thing about us. Oh, they will come and take over. They will come and this. So how you convincing people that it's
in the long run,
it's the right thing
they're going to understand the economic development. For instance, you see a lot of people don't cook in the house again.
A lot.
But there's a lot of places you can get a piece of food in the evening to eat. As soon as you foreigners come in, they recognize I have to do something. And then nothing remain a void. So you're going to see people involved in that industry more. Different cultures come in, So we have to do things. In the question of the language, if you bring these 100 teachers and you put them in a primary school to start with, you say after 6 years, you can get citizenship for you and your entire family if you want. That 100 teachers could end up 1,000 people. But they would have been in the system for 6 years. They would have been scattered throughout the country. So it's not to say that you have a massive pile up of people in any particular area. And they would have already settled down because the teacher who come in for the first 6 years would have already established a beachhead and would have able to bring her people based upon her capacity to help to settle them in. You're bringing in workforce. You're bringing in people. Dominica don't have people the same way. Dominica bigger than Grenada, almost 300 times. Almost 3 or 4 times. And Dominica don't have people.
Yeah, but I think if we have to trade people I think we should just have one passport, which instead of, I don't know, it's a task.
You could travel from one country to the other without passport. You could use driver's license. You could all go and then move on.
I tried that. That didn't work,
Yeah, but now it is even easier. Because if you move from one Caricom country to the other, before they give you 6 months, but now they don't asking you anything. So you could have a Bajan come.
Well, I was just about to tell you. I went to Barbados and then I went to get visa. And maybe on my way back, I was using an ID.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to let me on the plane, though.
Yes. Why? You see, when Caricom heads the government take a decision, it takes years for people to understand it. Because Caricom has not filtered down the message on the ground. So they must learn to filter down. In every country, there should be a radio station working with Caricom.
A Caribbean station.
As a radio station that help to filter down Caricom people, to get our people to understand the value of Caricom, what Caricom is all about. A radio station referring to all things about Caricom, the meeting, a special program. So Caricom could advertise, give some level of sponsorship on this radio station. Now we have to do more. If we start by pushing Spanish and French in primary school,
well, they do.
Within the next,
they do teach it.
Yeah, well, what they do there is little that is not effective. You might find one or two people getting Spanish, and they can't talk it.
Yeah, that's true.
You need to have people teach it in the primary schools. And by the time they go in the secondary school, they'll be better. You want communication. You want them able to communicate. The teachers living in the community, and they're teaching Spanish in the school. So you're going to have more communication between them. By the next 30, 40 years, Grenada would be saying, we speak a second language. Because all children that come through primary school in the next 30, 40 years would have been exposed to real Spanish. Because from the time the child reaches 5 years, they have Spanish as a class. Now, sometimes I'm so slightly disappointed with Caricom leaders. You have to zero in on the factors you believe that could address the challenges you face. You have a problem with weak economies. One of the factors is because of economy and scale. A small population you have. You already have problem with inter-regional travel, inter-regional movement, inter-regional locomotion.
Okay, so basically the leaders of Caricom are the prime ministers of the at that time.
Yeah, okay. Prime ministers, and they have a rotating president. Right now, Prime Minister Dick Mitchell is the head.
Is the head, yeah.
It's a rotating. I think it's every 6 months or something. Every 6 months. Yeah.
And then Guyana.
But I'm not satisfied when they meet. The topics they are discussing are relevant, are pertinent, are opportune to addressing the challenges we face. And that's when I say when Caricom meet, they must address the economic situation in the Caribbean and what do we do to improve it. It's taking too long to do things because after they sign the agreement, then they're going back home to try to convince the people. So normally they tell the people nothing. So when you go to Barbados or you go to another country, and you might be aware of what they don't have a clue. They have not filtered this thing down to the Caribbean. And Caricom needs to do better. The Caricom leaders needs to do better. We have a lot good going for us in Caribbean, in Caricom. But we need to zero in on the challenges that we are faced. And one of them is the economic realities. And once you're dealing with the economic situation, then the population dynamics will come in. The sustainable population, the communication, the language. For we are producing children in the Caricom, not only in Grenada, that are not able to be competitive on the job market. Caricom have to concentrate in the schoolhouse on subjects that will make our children competitive on the job market.
Well, I guess to join us together.
Yeah,
to join
but
us.
you must be competitive on the job market.
Yeah.
Now, if you train 100 people in a particular discipline,
youth unemployment,
and when you finish only 20 that make sense, then you have to look at your productivity level in that training. And Caricom have to decide what are the subject matters that the majority of our children must succeed. And that must be a decision from Caricom. These 8, 9, 10 subjects is top priority. The others, you encourage them to do it for bragging rights. So when your child go into school, your child know that mathematics is a subject I need.
Yeah. English.
You must communicate. French and Spanish.
Spanish you need.
Biology and chemistry and physics.
Yes.
We need.
Yes.
And the child must need computer science.
Have to have that.
Caricom have to strive to produce a child that is well educated, multi-skilled, multi-talented, and endowed with the characteristics that gives them the competitive edge on the marketplace. Too much of our young people do not meet the standards for employment on the marketplace.
And that is where crime and things does come.
Well, what you must, you have a young
drugs
man
come in now.
full of energy.
Yeah. And he has nothing to do.
What are you going to do? When you look at the 2 little girls in the class, went to university, them is liars. And they prepare to send him in jail. You know? When he comes, sometime all the magistrates now in Grenada are women. And plus that we have a judge 1,000 years. It seems she have no appetite for man. Anytime man comes,
call her Judge 1,000 years.
Judge 1,000.
Jesus.
Maximum penalty for males.
1,000 years.
Judge 1,000 years. One of the pastime discussions in law universities among women, where do you get man? Because there are very few
you don't feel it. Gosh. Yeah, go continue.
There are very few men for them. No, that's a factor in universities. No, we leave our men behind. We don't care. No, any society that leave your men behind, whether it was malicious or by accident or by design, going to pay a high price. You're going to have violence.
A lot. Drug crimes.
You're going to have drug.
Yeah.
You're going to have crimes.
You're going to have wrong things happening.
In addition to that, the women will be eloped in it. Because woman want man.
Yeah.
And man want woman. It's just a natural law of nature.
Yeah. And religion has a lot to play with it too with different countries.
Well, you're going to...
Some countries believe in different things.
But you cannot...
So
you cannot by design. And what happened in Caricom now is by design. It may not be malicious. But because of what you're propagating, you have left your men behind. And you emasculate. Some of the men are emasculated and domesticated. So even those that looking as if they're successful, they're more domesticated for public ridicule. No, you can't have countries doing that. You're going to pay the price. Some of your men are attracted to foreign countries. No family life. Family life is not a part of their culture.
Well, you see, what we're saying here, Mr. Pierre, I'm reading up on Caricom, so I'm trying to educate myself at the same time. And what the main, what they want to rely on is trade. The main thing is trade.
What they got trade?
And they have like youths and school and thing at the bottom of the list.
Yes, Caricom objectives is upside down.
Yeah. We are talking about schooling and teaching children, and they're talking about trade.
Yeah, what they have to trade?
They have trade as the number one.
Yes, they're wrong. They have trade as the number one.
Yeah.
But what they intend to trade. So you have to look at your economic base, your economic sustainability in the Caribbean. Sometime in the short term, you plant and then you reap in the medium term and the long term. But if they are not going to sow anything, so they've been talking about trade and they have nothing to trade.
Hmm.
You know?
Hmm.
And these are some of the challenges, you see. And I continue to advance the position that we can walk around with problems. We have to always try to come up with challenge issues, discuss the issue, and address the challenges that face us. We have weak economies in the Caribbean. Now Guyana get oil, and you're going to expect an explosion in Guyana, and you're going to see foreigners with the technical skills coming back in Guyana to hold the jobs, the middle managers' jobs. Guyana is a country with weak institutions, and when you have a country with weak institutions and plenty money overnight, that country most likely to get corrupt.
Got the money coming in too quick.
And you expect low productivity and luxurious living. Now look at Grenada. A government came into power and met a treasury pregnant. And that alone fooled the government.
Yeah.
That alone, you know.
Yeah.
We never see money so.
Why?
That alone fooled the government into reckless spending. And no one around them could stop and say no. It's the same thing Guyana is going to be faced with. And in the next couple of years, we'll be bankrupt again.
Yeah.
Going to the International Monetary again.
To borrow more.
To make sacrifice again. To bury ourselves in debt. So we have to discuss this issue. Caricom should be discussing, as part of the economic development plan, the cottage industry in the Caribbean.
The cottage industry.
The cottage industry. That's where people might be making cheap, forge, this, that, whatever, sewing, beekeeping, equipments, etc. Each country would want to have their own uniqueness about it. But when you discuss that as Caricom, the leaders go back in the country now and invest in the cottage industry. When the government of Grenada raised the price of sugar, raised the price of water, raised the price of electricity, the government of Grenada killed the confectionery industry.
Buried.
And obviously, it means that the government did not know the relationship, the economic relationship between these fundamental products, these main products, and economic production.
Yeah, they're saying here that the cottage industry can really help a country.
It can help a country immensely.
Yeah.
And it's so sad.
It will keep the poor at a,
it is practically economic embarrassment. When a government comes in and without much thinking, they didn't think at all, they raise the price of sugar, they raise the price of water, they raise the price of electricity. There is a spin-off, a multiplying effect to raise the cost of living. And in the same vein, they're destroying the cottage industry.
Yeah, they say the cottage industry can help reduce unemployment rates, particularly among women and young people who often find challenges to make a day-to-day living.
So the women between 35 and 60 and 65 that was making cheap, or pudding, or ice cream, instead of government encouraging them, government fired them. Because once you raise the price of the main the commodities that they're using, you run them out of the market. So Caricom should be discussing that and encouraging individual governments to go back home and create incentives to increase the cottage industry.
And they say it can also help strengthen community bonds.
And as automatically as the government do that, all of a sudden the minimum wage become an issue because people say, I have to pay more for sugar. I have to pay more for electricity. I have to pay more for water. What are the other products that sugar is used for? Anything sugar is used for. We even use sugar to burn coloring to season meat.
Yeah, to season meat.
So as a result of that, food going up. But because these politicians, I think, are lazy, they don't sit down and brainstorm. Or maybe they use only paper experts. So not people that are in touch with what is going on the ground. They are making these rudimentary blunders that have a rippling effect on the upward movement of the cost of living and stifling the cottage industry. But these things, you don't know. It's difficult. When you take some villages in Grenada, Riversally, La Poterie, now you have Pearls. You have other small communities. Some of the communities that are considered as lower socioeconomic communities, they are more poor. When people get tertiary education, even their children who believe that they're well educated, they don't even come back in these communities. But these communities are the most generous communities. That's where you have the biggest salaka. Free food. People rear animals. They plant crops.
They're saying again, Jamaica is one of the biggest the biggest in cottage industry in the Caricom.
Yes.
And 75% of the growth comes from the cottage industry.
Yes. So we in Grenada and the other Caribbean islands, and even in Jamaica, you have to invest in the cottage industry.
Yeah.
You have to encourage your people. When an individual comes out in university and he would have done a master's degree in chemistry or food science, you expect
food processing.
You expect that individual to go back in the community and help the people improve the quality and that economy there.
Yeah, arts and craft. Yeah,
you don't have it.
Wow.
You know, to use so in Grenada, after the banana industry collapsed and other issues, people turned to macaroni. That's when macaroni improved more. There's no more fig fuss to it. During the 1974 crisis, we used to call banana open bat and close a play. In rural Grenada, people in St. Charles don't know about that. Rich people don't know about that. But we used to consider banana as open bat and close a play. First thing in the morning and last thing in the night. And breadfruit was the headmaster. Because those were the foods that people turn back to in crisis. Now, after the demise of this industry, then we have start to have more importation of food, macaroni. Now we have other kind of roni. And then nobody knows where it come out. Flour, this, that. So now, when Caricom leaders talking about trade, some of them I think is a hoax.
Yeah, the thing is about trade.
Yeah, they're just using big words.
Yeah, but for some reason Jamaica's sticking.
Well, Jamaica have done better.
Not in the cottage industry.
Jamaica have done better, not necessarily because of a serious input from the government. The government of Jamaica should be investing more in the cottage industry in Jamaica. Trinidad has done very well too. Trinidad has done perhaps better than Jamaica in exporting things. But for Caricom to take a position that we must spend and invest in the cottage industry because it provides serious employment.
Let me see Trinidad.
It provides serious employment. And people use local stuff to develop that industry.
But Trinidad is based on food.
Food, yeah.
Chana,
Yeah.
curry,
Yeah. A lot of things.
food, and
Yeah.
they're not so much in the arts and craft department or
No,
the oils
food.
and stuff. They're based on food.
The Jamaica culture again.
Jamaica is more arts and craft and
The Rastas who have oil, this and all.
they have a lot of oil going on, natural
And
products.
bald heads see the opportunity and they take it and make more.
The jam, seasoning, rum. Jamaica is way more advanced. But Trinidad they're in food. Their biggest cottage industry job is
So
food.
Caricom. This thing is not this thing. If I know that means everybody know this thing. This thing is not to say you are too bright to know that I to invent the wheel.
Let me see.
Once you're observant in your own community, there were some people that used to sell ice cream and pudding, potato pudding and dog teeth and ginger sweets all their life. But they was able to send their children in school and build their houses.
And you won't believe, not to cut you up here, but you won't believe what's Grenada biggest word, spice.
Yeah, well, we just like that.
We know they in spice.
And why because nutmeg is seen as a spice.
Oh.
Every time you hear they say spice in Grenada.
They say spice production.
And government jumping up by planting cinnamon is nutmeg. That is a spice.
The nutmeg.
So cinnamon and other things, most of the Caribbeans have more than us. But nutmeg is a giant. But we in Grenada, when we're speaking about spice, we don't really speak about nutmeg.
No.
Nutmeg and mace that give us this reputation as a spice giant. But the cottage industry in Grenada,
it needs help.
He has not been helped, and this government put a nail in its coffin. Yeah. When they raise the price of sugar, raise the price of water and electricity, they put a nail in the coffin and they create unemployment. A lot of the women that was making the potato pudding, you see, all of a sudden they say pudding scarce, potato scarce.
Potato scarce.
The farmers can't get the potato because the women that was buying the potato from them to make potato pudding, not making it again. Then you see the reason. Because the government raised the price of sugar and raised the price of water. More sugar. They raise the price of sugar. So automatically, what the people used to sell potato for, pudding for, it becomes uneconomical. You had people, one individual, I think from Lafayette, going wrong with a vehicle and selling potato pudding for supermarkets. He was on the road every day in different people. And he employed 2 people making pudding for him. But he can't make no pudding again. The last time I see him walking on the road.
Why do you know he walking?
He walking on the road.
Walking?
Yeah, I see him on the road.
Asphalt?
No, he cutlassing on the
road. Travel?
Well, not travel in this government program. Maybe
this government calls it beautification.
Yeah, the government favor with it. Maybe it's a strong yellow.
Yeah.
But he was not able to continue with the trade because sugar price raised. And he feel it will be uneconomical. The government killed the cottage industry. And Caricom supposed to be discussing these issues. And we talk about that, and in the same vein, you look at the long-term effect of having the children in the school more well. You send children in school and they're doing F and N. I asked what child what is F and N. What I learn is food and nutrition.
Food and nutrition.
This is an evolved way of saying cookery. In the ancient days, they used to say cookery.
Only you others here say cookery, to be honest.
Well, I remember, I in tongue long.
Yeah.
So in the early days, a girl says she doing cookery.
Yeah.
And then they say domestic science. And now they say F and N, food and nutrition. And at one time, we used to have homemakers. In the communities, there were groups called homemakers. that was cooking food, teaching people how to cook different things. So all nutmeg pad, they used to take it and make jam. And some people used to make nutmeg pad jam and sell. And people used to buy it. Papa balls. I remember it was a good fun. Papa balls. I want a little papa ball. So they used to take papa. Carrot cake. People used to experiment and make that. And different pies. So we have not improved the cottage industry.
We have not done nothing. Haiti is even doing better than us.
Yeah.
We have
not improved. And that is why I'm concerned that this Caricom leaders meeting.
What are they meeting?
And they are not discussing pertinent subjects for the development of Caricom.
They're just talking about trade.
Take, for instance, the people who do F&N, food and nutrition. Now, I never understand. You have individuals who go to school and they get an A in food and nutrition. But a very parent, cucumbers are spoiling. They don't know how to pickle cucumber. They don't know how to pickle tomatoes. They don't know how to make wine. All of the parents drinking rum, but the children don't know how to make wine. And they don't know what to do with fig. They can't make fig pie. So, although the University of West Indies give them a certificate, that certificate is principally for them to go and work in the hotels. It's not for them to make use of that which we produce in this country. We are tricking your people. You can't trick your people. And then you're telling them agriculture dirty.
Yeah.
You're tricking your people. When a child comes out in school, that child must be more business-like. But children are trained to work with other people. They are not trained to open business. They don't have the discipline. They lack the discipline to open their own business.
I believe it's only black people suffering from that. Like, I don't want to be racist or anything, but...
Well, you're not...
I believe we black people, we have a problem with keeping up family business.
Well, we don't have a history of business like the Arabs,
We don't have a history of that? So what do we have? So what we have?
We have a history of selling with people.
We selling we own self.
For 700 years, the black man been selling his people. Before the European gone by,
So the European are them coming late?
Yeah, just the other day.
Really?
The Muslims, the Arabs used to castrate black male slaves. And you hear us say black male slaves.
Yeah, black male.
Because if it was in that time, some males would have turned female for them to escape. Because you could get up a morning and say you feel like a female and you turn female. So they used to castrate the male slaves. So the black man been selling his people for about 700 years before the European gone by.
Wow. So we don't have a history of nothing progressive.
No, we have a lot of progression.
Give me one. Give me one progression we made over the last 700 years.
Well, we have dominated the world of sports. Where intelligence is concerned, the black man is very educated.
That is true.
And most of the big commercial houses are run by black people. Most of the public officers in Europe are Nigerians. We have 40,000 doctors from Nigeria in Europe. Yeah. While African going to the medicine man. The doctors in Europe.
40,000.
Over 40,000. So you see,
that's knowledge.
One of the challenges we have is to culture our people to produce and provide for them. But if you leaders is not leading in that direction,
you feel.
So we have to go after our leaders and say, what is your agenda? How is your agenda pertinent and relevant for our development? You never speak about the economic realities. And that's why we struggle so when every time we come a disaster, we like beggars.
Yeah. You see it?
Look at this present.
We can't help ourselves here.
One parish in Grenada, the housing stock in one parish, Creek.
Up to now, you know.
We have a massive volunteer force in St. David, St. George's, St. Andrews,
As well as
St. Mark's,
yeah,
and St. John. St. Patrick's are hit too, and there are individual houses.
Yeah.
But we seems as fish out of water.
Look at Caricom.
We don't have institutions to do it. And we sending up Grenadians up there, and they volunteering, and I encourage them, yes, they should go. But we seem so disorganized. And money is not the problem. Because we got some money from insurance for the short term. Emergency money. House smash down, bam, money come 14 days after to try to remedy the situation.
We yet to see that money.
But we don't know what to do because we don't have a culture. We're waiting on somebody to do it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Watts. Mr. Watts is saying they are talking about trade yet for all. Trinidad blocking Grenada from selling honey. You know about that?
I never really bother with that, Trinidad don't have honey. But the Trinidad beekeepers have some clout. So they're lobbying the government not to buy Grenada honey. Because Grenada used to send honey in Trinidad illegal. Nobody bothered with it. So the Trinidad beekeepers, because if you get $400-500 for a bottle of honey in Grenada, in Trinidad, you don't want honey come for $45 a bottle. I never worry about that too much. Because Grenada themselves don't have honey to send in Trinidad.
I know, use a honey.
We're making noise about a molehill. It's like two bad little children. Trinidad don't have honey. And Grenada don't really have honey to sell in Trinidad. St. George, there are some Grenadian beekeepers that are not selling their honey on the Grenadian market. They sell it to St. George's University. They sell it to Martinique. We sell it in Barbados. In 1936, Grenada exported honey.
In 1936.
1936.
1936.
Today, we're importing honey. So we don't have honey. Guyana, Trinidad don't want Guyana to send no honey. And Guyana don't even have honey to satisfy Guyana. But a farmer would not could send on a 4-5 drum of honey in Trinidad because the price is so good. So this honey issue is practically a known issue that we're making noise about, and it's not necessary. A bottle of honey in Grenada, a 750 ml honey in Grenada, is $60 and $70.
Yeah, but we'll call it 70.
Most beekeepers not selling a bottle of honey in 750 ml for you. Because if they drop the quantum, they could make 4 times what a bottle bringing in. Smaller the quantum in the bottle.
So who has the biggest trade for honey in the world? Do you know that?
In the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean, yeah. All right. The rest of the world get it from the Caribbean, based on what I'm seeing here. But I just want to see if you know.
Cuba, I think, exports some honey to the Caribbean Union. Jamaica have some honey, but Jamaica beekeepers even more tight.
Well,
they don't want you to bring honey in the country. You see, we in the Caribbean, sometimes if you could have prescribed strokes for agriculture export, I'll give them 12 strokes. You see, we're not marketing honey as a food. Honey is still a medicine.
Yeah, it is. To us.
It's not a food. It's a medicine. So if we change tomorrow and start to advertise market honey as a food, then we can't even supply.
No.
Honey, bees is one of the best pollinators in the world. So while we're going to lobby Morocco to give us fertilizer
Mm-hmm.
to give plants. If we increase the population of bees, automatically we get increased production and more uniformity in some crops.
Well, apparently China is the biggest.
Everybody
buyer
afraid
right
China.
now. Yeah. But they buying. They buy 10.7% of honey in the
But they're
Caribbean.
exporting. The United States, for the first time, United States decided we have to determine what is honey. Because they say China bringing something they can be honey.
Yeah, that's what I'll tell you. China buying it and remanufacturing it.
And they're dropping it back.
They scaling it down and drop it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
I'm
honey
looking at it right now.
business is it is disturbing.
Yeah.
When you think about bees and honey, the Caribbean is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's a joke. The University of the West Indies has not helped us. The Caribbean leaders have not helped us. The Ministry of Agriculture has not helped us. We lobbied the St. George's University many years ago to get into beekeeping, and they did get into it, but they get in it to attract funding for the U.S. market, from the U.S. market.
It's always something.
And they had some success, but they never helped us. We thought by doing it, they would have helped us develop the industry. They started hot and sweaty, but they concentrated. And the Ministry of Agriculture, the government of Grenada, just as government of Guyana and the Caribbean, they prefer to go cocoa.
Nutmeg, spice.
Yeah, that was another program that we have.
That was a good one.
We basically provoking discussion.
We should talk some more about Caricom.
Yes, and this time we put some emphasis on Caricom.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to thank our brother for being with us, Gates, Yigwe.
Always, Mr. Pierre.
And then we have our technical operator here, Devante. Devante, though, seems to be in a good mood today. But at least you are successful in getting us through today.
Yeah.
And we encourage you to share our program.
Like.
And we provoke discussion. Thank you very much.